All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday, the 17th day of January 2010. Here is the news in my stacks we'll be covering today. Obviously, what's going on in Haiti, this human tragedy of uncalculable, horrendous magnitude. We will also be getting into Cass Sunstein, one of the top czars in the Obama administration. This is the guy who heads up the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs. He interprets federal implementation of laws and regulations. He has been saying that he wants to ban free speech. Yeah, we're going to read his quotes. He's been saying ban the Second Amendment outright. He said infiltrate, quote, conspiracy groups. Anyone that questions the government, anyone that questions official dogma in any way needs to be basically arrested. Either the 90-year-old Justice John Paul Stevens or Ruth Bader Ginsburg are scheduled the next year or two. Both have been making noises about leaving the court. And he tried to bring Sunstein up to take the place that Sotomayor got. But instead, she got it. And so this guy could be the Supreme Court justice, the next associate justice. I mean, it's really hard to believe he actually has written all these white papers and given these speeches. Thursday and Friday, we played clips of him, video clips, audio clips. We read from white papers. He has written, like this one. This is University of Chicago Law School Law Economic Research paper series, paper number 387. And this was put out a year and a half ago, Cass R. Sunstein. And you read this, it's like some type of absurdist 1984 satire, but it's really, really happening. So we're going to look at the type of tyrants in the Obama administration, and it's mainly the left. I learned about this not from the controlled right, Fox News. I learned about it from The Village Voice, from Raw Story, and others calling him a fascist. And, I mean, that's really what he is. I mean, openly says we're going to ban free speech and we're going to decide what you can and can't say, and the conspiracy theories, which, again, he lists things like global warming not being man-made. That's arrestable offense. He lists things like believing the government was involved in killing Kennedy. Over 90% in a CBS poll we have a link to. I guess they need to be arrested. He says criticizing the banks. I mean, questioning the official story of 9/11, which 6 of the 10 9/11 commission members and Farmer, one of their head lawyers, says there's a cover-up going on. I guess that's, I mean, as an American, you don't have a right to free speech. I mean, this guy is a piece of work. So that's coming up later in the broadcast, because then I found out he wants to take organs without consent. I mean, what next? I mean, is this guy, what's he have buried in his basement? I mean, it's like satire. It's like satire. It's hard to believe this is real. And then they just go on with a straight face and then tell those of us that don't want this tyranny or police state that we're the weird ones, we're the bad ones. I have MSNBC here doing a special documentary with Chris Matthews, and I held up Eco Science, written by John P. Holdren, to him, where he talks about putting chemicals in the water to sterilize us and setting up a planetary dictatorship and one-child policies. And they said, Alex, this is so radical what you're saying. I'm not the one that said it. When Ted Turner says he wants to get rid of 90% of the useless eaters, that's a quote. I'm not the radical. He is. When Cass Sunstein says, arrest people for their free speech, I'm not the radical. I'm reading what he said. You know, when Danny Glover comes out and says the people of Haiti had this earthquake because of global warming, when no volcanologist, no climatologist, no one that studies geology or the earth would ever say that the atmosphere has anything to do with tectonic earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. But doesn't matter. I'm the radical for disagreeing with Danny Glover that man-made global warming that's made up itself supposedly caused the earthquake. It's just as stupid as saying that the Haitians are cursed when Pat Robertson said it. Again, I see myself as the sane person. But again, I guess I'm weird. I don't agree with Pat Robertson or Danny Glover, and I don't agree with Ted Turner when he says he wants to set up a planetary government to get rid of at least 90% of the population. Or Dr. Eric Pianka, University of Texas biology professor, saying he wants 90% of the population to die from airborne Ebola. And then I had the national media call me when that happened and said, oh, well, why are you radical? Why are you against this? I guess so. I guess I am the radical because I'm against 90% of people being killed. Again, that's why the mainstream media is losing all credibility, because they continue day after day, week after week, year after year, coming out with their extreme agendas and then telling us, those of us that are just normal people that want to be free and be left alone, that we've got the problem, trying to use peer pressure to control us, to make us capitulate to their entire program. Well, it's over. It's not happening anymore. So again, Cass Sunstein, the top White House regulatory czar, this lawyer, saying that he wants to get rid of free speech, restrict the internet, shut down free speech on the web, and much more. What's happening in Haiti? We're also going to get into Bankstergate. A lot of these politicians are in deep, deep trouble right now. A lot of these bankers and economists are in trouble. There's open talk of indicting and investigations to indict the current Treasury Secretary, Timmy Geithner, who was the New York Fed chief, who set the policy for AIG to make it secret who was getting the bailout money, namely his former boss at Goldman Sachs, then Treasury Secretary in 2008, Henry Paulson. And now Business Week reports Paulson asked to testify at AIG bailout hearing with Geithner. So that's certainly exciting. We have a powerful article up on Infowars.com by Kurt Nimmo here. SEC engages in conspiracy with AIG to hide bailout evidence. And that's what Judge Napolitano called it earlier this week here on this show. Also, Obama's 10-year, $90 billion bank tax is a tiny fraction of what the banks have already stolen from the American people. And so it is putting a Band-Aid on an axe wound. So we'll be going over that. Just like last year, Obama signed an executive order saying, I'm going to block bonus money to the big banks. And people actually read the document, and what did it say? They actually read the executive order. It said, oh, all these big banks, well, they are exempt. They are exempt from this. So the real people doing the looting, engaged in the criminal looting, they're going to be left alone. There's been big new developments on the naked body scanners going in all the major airports. Now we learn they're already going in courthouses before the deadly underwear bomber popped up right on time. And more congressmen are fighting it. We also have a joke PSA we're going to air done by the CBC in Canada where they show the naked body scanners and really what they're actually doing. So that's coming up. Also have a stack of news here dealing with the hoaxes that have been imploding. Wall Street Journal, Europeans snub vaccine and states cancel orders. And, of course, as we've been telling you for the last few months, it's now mainstream news. The head of the EU's health board says it was all a premeditated fraud to bilk taxpayers and to sell a, quote, dangerous vaccine. So that is coming up as well. And the left is really waking up to Obama. Again, those still caught in the fake left-right paradigm. Village Voice headline, George W. Obama. And it goes in to talk about how horrible Obama is. And I want to commend the so-called left for being quicker to wake up to Obama's fraud than the Republicans were to George Bush, the Patriot Act, launching all these wars, free speech zones, tripling the size of government. But I want to tell you now, Dick Armey, the mainline Republicans, Glenn Beck, they are going to betray you in the next year once they get control of the House and the Senate. But that's the dilemma. You don't have a choice. You've got to put them in there to block Obama. But as soon as Republicans then get a majority, when a Republican president gets in 3 years, then we'll have to try to get Democrats in to block them. So I guess the founding fathers were right. Gridlock, balkanization, the separation of powers in the government is the only thing keeping any semblance of liberty here. Because the Democrats and Republicans all work for the power elite. That is, the leadership does, and literally want to set up this police state. We'll be right back after this quick break.